All right, what's up, folks? We are back once again. Thursday MLB DFS picks, lineup advice, FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo, bets, lineup strategies, construction tips, you name it. Thursday, April 28th. Are you sick of me yet? Tuesday night, I was live on stream with Jack going through our lineup builder. Yesterday, we had the UFC stream. Today, I got the solo act of doing the MLB breakdown for you here live. Slate starts at 12:35 p.m. Eastern on DraftKings, and here to help you out. This is a live Q&A, so if you have questions, I'll be here for about 20 minutes or so to help break down the slate, answer any questions that you may have. Throw them in the YouTube chat. I'll happily answer them here live. As you see on screen here, it's been a bit of a hot streak for me. Another five-figure score last night in MLB. This was in the ball fourth, the $250 four max for me, and little 5-3 stack with LA and Boston got it done. So we'll take it, and we're going to continue this positive momentum. And what I'll do here today in this video, until you have questions, I'll talk about some of the top pitchers, stack ideas, lineup constructions that I'm looking at for this 9-game DFS slate. So let's look today. And as you see, Verlander, top of the pitching salary range, 10.1K. Michael Kopech, strikeout machine. He's number 2 overall. If you remember the first week or two of the season, his first start, he was 5 or 6K. Complete increase in his price. So it's crazy to see that over the past couple of weeks. And then a couple other guys in this top tier. Not a great pitching slate overall if you just look at the salaries. However, let's pull up the pitching model really quickly. OccupyFantasy.com. Probably our greatest feature, as we talked about in the Tuesday night stream. You'll see we have 4 pretty clear pitchers head and shoulders above the rest for this early main slate. Verlander, obviously, number 1. Zach Wheeler, Kopech, and Freddie Peralta, who I know a lot of people were concerned about Freddie's last start after his tough start to the season, but he bounced back. And as you'll see, the ownership matches up with this too. And we see this pretty often, right? But for the 4 highest owned guys to be our 4 highest ranked pitchers, a lot of overlap there. So try to get those guys into your lineup as much as you can. Matthew in the chat. What's up, Matt? Thanks for joining. And again, if you guys have questions, let me know. So for me, I would try to get those guys into as many lineups as I could. You know, oftentimes, as you saw last night, let's go back to my lineup here. I did have a 7K pitcher and a 6K pitcher in my lineup. And usually I'm not looking to get 2. This was just one of the 4 lineups that I made that used 2 cheap pitchers. But Junis did rank pretty high for us yesterday. I think he was 4th or 5th overall in the model. And those guys I'm willing to play a decent amount of. I think I had him in 50% of my lineups, of my 4 small field lineups. But let's go back to pitchers here. No one ranks like that. I guess Peralta would qualify as the sub 8K option today. Until then, you have to drop down to Trevor Rogers, who's 6,100, Quintana, who's 5,900. And again, those guys have that below 16 off index threshold that we generally look for. So I wouldn't be looking to get those guys into your lineup. But if you need one cheap pitcher, maybe that's the way to go. However, I say all of this, and if you've run the builder this morning or if you read the daily plug, which is out already for the early slate, Chris and Troy up and at it early, working at the plug, you'll notice that salary really doesn't matter so much for this slate. Right, so those pitchers that we talked about, Verlander, Wheeler, Kopech, Peralta, you should be able to fit them in pretty much no problem because salary is pretty fake. It's almost like a USFL slate today. And let's see here. So if you remember on Tuesday's stream, I was talking about how I've had at least the last couple of weeks, last couple of days, been having some success targeting pitchers near the bottom of our model. And you'll see that Houston, New York, certainly have great matchups against Martin Perez and Bruce Zimmerman. I will say one word of caution if you're employing that approach today. Jeffrey Springs is just an opener for Tampa Bay, only expected to pitch 1 inning. Jalen Beeks is probably going to follow, and usually we have the probable long reliever who gets the bulk of the innings in our pitcher model, but he's only expected to go maybe 1 to 2 innings if he pitches. It's a full bullpen game for Tampa Bay. So stacking Seattle against the lowest pitcher has some side effects today. Just be cautious. Likely we get a full bullpen game from Tampa Bay, so we don't get that full effect of stacking against a terrible pitcher. Nick in the chat, what's up, Nick? Says, what do you think about fading the Yankees in high risk? They have a high team total, but it's very cold there for sure. So let's go to the stack dashboard, ranks every stack, FanDuel, DraftKings, with our metrics that we like to look at. And we see the Yankees Number one team total. Team total is moving in their favor. 69% projected ownership, second highest on the board, and a pretty clear tier for me, right? It's Houston, New York, and then there's a drop off. And as I've been saying on these streams recently, if you're playing any sort of high risk contest with more than, let's say, 50 people, right? 100 player leagues, smaller GPPs, large GPPs, there's not a ton of merit to stacking these high owned teams fully, right? As you saw last night in my lineup, let's go back to it real quickly. Boston was popular, at least Devers and Bogarts were, right? 20% plus in this contest. But I set rules in the builder to, at most, secondary stack them, 3-man stacks, right? And so I only got Boston, and I was able to pair them with a low-owned, 5% roughly LA 5-man stack. And that's certainly the way to go in baseball, especially for small field. So if we go back to it, Yankees and Houston, yes, they rate really well. Yankees, in fact, are only fifth on our stack dashboard. So that gives us even more confidence that we could probably fade them as a primary stack. Sure, could they score 10 runs? Are they the most likely to score 10 runs? Probably. But again, that likelihood is still pretty low as far as an actual percentage goes. So we're going to play the percents. We're here for the long haul. We're doing this all season. And our data has shown that if you fade the highest, second highest owned stacks, as long as they're somewhat similar, as a primary stack, then you're going to make money over the course of a season. So, Nick, yeah, I agree. I think fading New York, especially as a primary stack, is an option. So if we're not playing Houston or New York, who are we going to play? Well, fortunately, we have a relatively low-owned stack at the top of the model against a bad pitcher. What more could we ask for? So Milwaukee, our number one overall OF index stack today. Number one, and this says number two here. This is for the entire day, right? We're sorted by this, which means they're number one for this particular slate. Number one OF index, number one isolated power. So the power upside is there for Milwaukee. And weighted on base average was because a little bit of safety, right? A lot of times we'll see a high ISO, low WOBA team and they strike out 7 times and they score 3 runs and it doesn't help us in our tournaments, right? But we do have some safety here as well. Milwaukee, the 4th highest WOBA stack. And let's see their team total. 4th, 5th highest team total, right? But only 42% cumulative ownership. So we got to like that. And they're pretty cheap as well. Let's go to the batters tab. And you see Andrew McCutchen leads the way in the model, and he's only 3,600 on DraftKings, 2,500 on FanDuel, criminal. I would say today, if you're making lineups, you're just tuning in, don't worry about salary. You're gonna click some lineups. You're gonna use the builder, set that salary really low in the builder, and you're gonna come back and say, dude, can I really leave 3,000 on the table, 4,000 on the table? Yes, you can. Most of the time, you don't want to do that, right? But today's slate, it really, truly does not matter because some of our best options are that affordable. So, and I think it was Chris in yesterday's video said that, pitching, you don't necessarily want to, or maybe it was Jack, whoever it was. One of our sharp partners or writers said that, yeah, at pitcher, you don't necessarily want to leave $3,000 where you could upgrade a pitcher, right? Because most of the time, that higher price pitcher is going to outscore the lower price pitcher. But literally a min-price bat can outscore a 6K bat easily, just based on the variance of the sport. So if you're leaving money on the table with your stacks, I wouldn't worry about it. So if we filter out Milwaukee here in the Occupy model, which again, if you don't have access to, occupyfantasy.com, link is in the description below. All of our back-tested metrics, ranks, all the batters, FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo. So McCutchen, Renfroe, Adames, Jackson, if you're going for the wraparound, Brosseau, Taylor. I mean, lots of options here above 5 OF index, right? So if we go to today's slate, and let's just say we want to stack the early hitters, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Let's leave Jackson out. We're not dropping that low in the order. We're not trying to get too crazy. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's the winning lineup. All right, so Milwaukee. We got McCutchen, Renfroe, Taylor, and who was it? Brosseau, Adames. 6,500 left per player. And let's go back to our pitchers, right? Verlander, Wheeler. Let's just say we want to try to fit in the top 2 options at pitching. Can we do that? Let's see. We'll check it out live on stream. Look at that, 4,700 left per player. How often do you play the 2 top-ranked pitchers in the model, the number 1 stack, and have $4,700 left over for your secondary stack? And I imagine this is much more reasonable even on FanDuel. So, yeah, you see what I'm going with here today, right? Naturally, you're going to try to fill in these options. And you might not even be able to, right, with realistic options to fill this in. But if you're going for full correlation, as you should in baseball, you're not going to fill 4,700 left. per player for catcher, first base, second base. And again, if you remember, we're trying to 5-3 stack most of the time. 5-2-1 stack is really strong as well, and maybe even the strongest stack, especially if you use high OF index hitters as your one-off batter. So you'll see, it's a really crazy slate for ownership and for salary today. All right, 11:25. I'll be here for probably 5 to 10 more minutes. If you guys have questions, let me know. If not, we'll get out of here early because I do think it's a pretty straightforward slate. All right, let's see. So let's go back to Stack Dashboard. And you're thinking, all right, Brian, I'm fading New York. I'm fading Houston. I'm going to get even crazier, right? I'm trying to play some even lower owned stacks. I'm playing the large field GPP. I'm playing multiple lineups, and I'm trying to have that 2 to 5% stack go off. Who else can we look at? So let's sort by ownership here. And I think Tampa Bay fits the bill perfectly. They are projected the lowest owned stack for us. Just 13% cumulative. I think that'll rise a little bit here before 12:35 in the final ownership update. But they have, look at their team total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 highest team total. The team total is increasing. Why their ownership so low, I don't know. Go to the pitching dashboard, and we see that Chris Flexen, who has generally ranked in the top half of the model so far to start the year when he's pitched, in the bottom half. So there we go. Bottom half of the model pitcher against a team total that's increasing against one of the lowest owned teams on the slate. I mean, you're playing tournaments. I don't know how you don't stack Tampa Bay today. What does that look like? All right, let's filter up Milwaukee out. Let's get Tampa Bay in. Look at this. All right, so again, they don't have the greatest of index, but we got a ton of correlation here, as always. And as you always say, Brett Phillips, Mike Zunino, whenever they're on the slate, because they're high ISO, they're going to rank highly for Tampa Bay. And if you don't want to get that crazy and drop to the 8-hitter, you don't have to. You could play the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Leave Phillips out, sure. Let's check out what that looks like. Here. All right, let's clear this out. We're going to keep that same pitching core just to see what that looks like. And let's go Tampa Bay. Who are we going? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So, let's try this. Bop, bop. Nope, can't do that. Let's do this. There we go. And, okay, only 3,400 left per player, right? I say only, right? If we want to use more salary, we can, right? I mean, so who would we try to pair with Tampa Bay? As we talked about on Tuesday, I used the builder for this. Build a bunch of lineups, see what teams are pairing most often with other teams. Does the work for us? But we can do this without the lineup builder as well. So catcher and outfield, which team would pair well with this Tampa Bay stack? Let's go back to the model here. What I like to do in this scenario, I filter out catcher, I filter out outfield. Those are the positions we need. See if any teams stick out, right? Let's look for the first catcher we see. Alex Jackson, remember he was hitting low in the order for Milwaukee. He is a 9 hitter. We could go a little 9-1 mini stack with McCutchen and Jackson. That's possible. That's going to leave us salary for a great one-off hitter. Let's see here. Any other Milwaukee guys? So we could go 1-9-1-3. That's correlation, right? Jackson, McCutchen, Renfroe. That's that Milwaukee stat we talked about earlier. What other catchers? Texas and Kansas City. Texas looks pretty good because Garver's hitting 5th, and we got 2 Texas outfielders here hitting 7th and 8th. Calhoun hitting 1st. We could do some correlation there. So lots of options here, lots of ways to play it. So again, that's why I love using the builder. I love using the model to be able to figure out which teams pair well with these other teams. All right, I think that'll about do it. I think we hit on everything we need to hit on today. The one thing I will say, let's go to the weather dashboard really quickly. Let's see here. Let's sort by time. The White Sox game is something we have to monitor. It's pretty cold weather. Kevin Roth over at RotoGrinder said it should be raining most of the day. I know our precipitation says the game starts with a 2% chance. Should be a little higher as the day goes on. Hopefully higher than 2%. And so something we need to monitor. Of course, that is the 2 p.m. game. If it looks like they're warming up, they're likely going to play. No issues. So keep that in mind. Remember, Kopech's pitching that game. Maybe you're looking for a White Sox stack, low-owned stack. Just keep an eye on that. Other than that, it's a pretty cold day across the country, right? We see the Pittsburgh game, minus 15% weather boost. Cincinnati, minus 8. New York, minus 15. Philly, minus 17. Washington, minus 15. Yeah, it's cold outside today for us. Minus 11%. Tampa Bay, remember, they are in that dome. And while it's a 0% boost relative to other games on the slate, that's a pretty nice hitting environment when every other game is 17%. And that's one thing that if you look at the weather today, like, oh, this team has a negative 15% boost. Yeah, most of the teams do on the slate. It's gonna be a tough hitting slate. Even more reason to prioritize those pitchers, especially those top tier ones in your lineups today. So that'll do it for the video. Appreciate you listening as always. The daily plug is up, occupyfantasy.com. Let me bring it up really quickly. Let's get to the top. There we go. Chris and Troy did a great job, as always, getting this out early. Go check it out. Top plays, their favorite stacks and pitchers and lineup strategies, and their best bet of the day. Don't miss that as well. Occupy Model's up. It gets updated every couple minutes as lineups come in. Rankings change when lineups come in, so make sure you're checking that out before lock. And the builder's up and running. Build up to 300 lineups using our optimal lineup criteria. Helps you build small field, cash game lineups, whatever you need. So it's a great tool. Go check it out. So if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get notified when we go live, upload any new videos. Give us a thumbs up if you appreciate the MLB content throughout the day. And any questions, you could probably comment on this video. I don't know if we'll get back to you before the slate starts. The best way, of course, is to join our Discord server. Click the join button below this video, occupyfantasy.com/Discord. Chat it up with other members and staff of the occupyfantasy.com community. All right, that'll do it. Good luck today. Early baseball. Good luck getting any work done, right? There's golf on too. Not a very productive day for the rest of the afternoon, I'm foreseeing. So I'm Brian, Occupy Fantasy. Appreciate you listening, and good luck today.